Jai Shri Sri Sri Guru Gaur Chandra Ju Ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pari Brajakacharya Astatara Sata Sri Sriman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pari Brajakacharya Astatara Sata Sri Sriman Srila Bhakti Rakak Sri Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Welcome to Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mission Morning Class, Dandavat. Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Chita Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Haribo. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. This is the Antya Lila 4th chapter. Srila Sanatana Goswami visits the Lord. Haribol. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Ki Jai. Srila Om Vishnupad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, we are on verse number 223, and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj has outlined several of the books which Srila Sanatana Goswami has composed, and he's saying in the verse before, Srila Sanatana Goswami also compiled many other books. Who can enumerate them? The basic principle of all these books is to show us how to love Madan Mohan and Govindaji. We don't want to lose track of the goal. Rupa Gosai Kaila Rasamrita Sindhusar Krishna Bhakti Rasera Jaha Paye Bistar. Srila Rupa Goswami also wrote many books, the most famous of which is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the Nectar of Devotion. From that book, one can understand the essence of devotional service to Krishna and the transcendental mellows one can derive from such service. Ujjvala Nilamani Nama Granta Kaila Ar Radha Krishna Lila Rasa Taha Paye Par. Srila Rupa Goswami also compiled a book named Ujjvala Nilamani, from which one can understand to the fullest limits the loving affairs of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. And we have not been given that book to read. We're not so qualified. Vidagda Madhava Lalita Madhava Nataka Jugala Krishna Lila Rasataha Paye Shakala. Srila Rupa Goswami also compiled 2 important dramas named Vidagda Madhava and Lalita Madhava, from which one can understand all the mellows derived from the pastimes of Lord Krishna. We've been hearing this history of how these books came about. Danakeli Kaumudi Adi Laksha Grantha Kaila Sheshabha Grante Brajera Rasa Vicharila. Srila Rupa Goswami compiled 100,000 verses, beginning with the book Danakeli Kaumudi, In all these scriptures, he elaborately explained the transcendental mellows of the activities of Vrindavan. So there are scriptures and then there are scriptures. I heard Srila Guru Maharaj giving a very interesting analogy this morning. Someone was asking him, well, we are trying to serve, but we're in the atmosphere or the relativity of the mundane world, and that can always seem to drag us down. And Guru Maharaj said, and I heard this talk many times, but I really somehow was able to take note a little bit of this answer, that he's saying that although the wind cannot penetrate through denser matter, but ether can go everywhere. Ether is in everything. So the words, the teachings of the scriptures and the sadhus can pierce into the soul. Matter cannot actually enter the soul, cannot actually affect the soul. As Krishna said, the soul cannot be wet by water, it cannot be burned by fire, it cannot be dried up by the wind. But transcendental sound can come into the essence of consciousness and affect us. So we have that shelter. We have that. If we are coming in contact with those things, the sadhu and the scriptures, that can absolutely affect our consciousness. Any question about that? Very nice analogy. Otherwise, Maya is a covering. She's not actually coming in, cannot come into the actual plane of the soul. Referring to the words Laksha Grantha, or 100,000 verses, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that the total number of verses written by Srila Rupa Goswami is 100,000. Eka Laksha or Laksha Grantha. The copyists count both the verses and the prose sections of the Sanskrit works. One should not mistakenly think that Srila Rupa Goswami compiled 100,000 books. He actually wrote 16 books, as mentioned in the first wave of the Bhakti Ratnakar. Srila Rupa Goswami Grantha Shodashakarila. Okay, I guess there was some confusion about that at some point. Text 227. Tara Lagu Brata Shri Balaba Anupama Tara Putra Mahabhandita Jiva Gosai Nama. The son of Sri Balaba or Anupama, Srila Rupa Goswami's younger brother, was the great learned scholar named Srila Jiva Goswami. So he was Anupama's son. Sarvyatyaji tenho pache aila Vrindavan, tenha bhakti shastra bahu kaila pracharana. After renouncing everything, Srila Jiva Goswami went to Vrindavan. Later, he also wrote many books on devotional service and expanded the work of preaching. And Srila Jiva Goswami is very much honored. He just, everything he wrote was in a very, very organized and systematic way to give so much evidence from the scripture and protect the principles of devotion. Bhagavata Sandarbha Nama Kaila Grantha Shar Bhagavata Siddhante Ratahapai Apar. In particular, Srila Jiva Goswami compiled the book named Bhagavat Sandarbha or Sat Sandarbha, which is the essence of all scriptures. From this book one can obtain a conclusive understanding of devotional service and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gopala Champu Nama Grantha Shara Kaila Braja Prema Lila Rasa Shara De Kaila. He also compiled the book named Gopal Champu, which is the essence of all Vedic literature. In this book, he has exhibited the ecstatic, loving transactions and pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Satsandarve Krishna Preme Tattva Prakashila Chari Laksha Granta Teho Vistara Karila. In the Sat Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami set forth the truths about transcendental love of Krishna. In this way, he expanded 400,000 verses in all of his books. So very prodigious amount of composition. 400,000 verses he's composed. Jiva Gosai Gaura Haite Mathura Chalila Nityananda Prabhu Tai Agya Magila. When Jiva Goswami wanted to go to Mathura from Bengal, he requested permission from Nityananda Prabhu. Prabhu Pritye Taramate Darila Charan Rupa Sanatana Sambandhe Kaila Alingan. Because of Jiva Goswami's relationship with Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, who were greatly favored by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda placed his feet on the head of Srila Jiva Goswami and embraced him. So Srila Jiva Goswami approached Nityananda Prabhu that he wanted to join with his uncles Rupa and Sanatan in Vrindavan. And of course, this was a greatly honorable and exalted desire. It was not tinged with anything mundane at all. He wanted to join with them to do that seva. And Nityananda Prabhu was so happy that of his relationship with Rupa and Sanatan, he embraced him and placed his lotus feet on the head of Sri Jiva. Agyadila Shigra Tumi Jaha Vrindavane Tomara Vangshe Prabhu Diya Chena Seistane. Lord Nityananda Prabhu ordered, yes, go to Vrindavan. That place has been awarded to your family, to your father and uncles by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore you must go there immediately. Tara Agyaya Aila Agya Pala Paila Shastrakari Katakala Bhakti Pracharila. By the order of Nityananda Prabhu, by the order of Nityananda Prabhu, he went to Vrindavan. Srila Jiva Goswami went to Vrindavan and actually achieved the result of his order, of the Lord's order, for he compiled many books for a long time and preached the cult of bhakti from there. Etina Guru Ara Raghunatha Das Ihas Bara Charana Vantong Yatra Muni Das. These three, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Jiva Goswami, are my spiritual masters, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying. And so also is Raghunath Das Goswami. I therefore offer prayers at their lotus feet, for I am their servant. Eta kahila punna sanatana sangame prabhura ashaya janit jahara shravane. Thus I have described how the Lord again met with Sanatan Goswami. Excuse me, I'm very sorry. Thus I have described how the Lord again met with Sanatan Goswami. By hearing this, I can understand the Lord's desire. Chaitanya Charitra Ikshudanda Sama Charvana Karite Hai Rasa Asvadana. These characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are like sugar cane that one can chew to relish transcendental juice. Do you have sugar cane in Ecuador? Sugar grows there. And you can chew on them.
Yes, and then after you chew enough, there's no more.
No more juice.
No more juice.
Yeah, there's the difference.
Uh-huh.
The juice of these pastimes is infinite. But, yeah, that's a nice, a beautiful analogy to hear these pastimes. It's like relishing, chewing on the sugar cane. Sri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jara Asha Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus sends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, 4th chapter describing Sanatana Goswami's stay with the Lord at Sri Jagannath Puri. And now chapter 5. How Pradyumna Mishra received instructions from Ramananda Rai. So we're hearing these personalities' names. And it's nice to take a note. And I don't do it. I keep forgetting. Mm-hmm. I always think after class I'm going to note all these. But then
Yeah, me too.
I forget to do it. But now we hear over and over again, and if we consciously grab the thing, like who is Pradyumna Mishra, I'm going to remember this. Then, but there has to be some, you know what I mean? Like not just kind of letting it go. For me, I'm telling, memorizing is a very good exercise. Everyone should be engaged in memorizing, I believe. Because the mind has much, the brain has much capacity, but a lot of us just don't use it very much.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? We don't exercise that muscle.
We're just frying it with dopamine all the time.
Yeah. And dopamine, those dopamine addictions, they actually lower the IQ. There are many studies about this. This constant, it lowers our ability to discriminate things. Now discrimination is very much out of vogue. In the name of freedom and equality, we're not allowed to tell what is a lower thing and what is a higher thing. That's doom for human consciousness. How Pradyumna Mishra received instructions from Ramananda Rai. Again, this is chapter 5. The following summary of the 5th chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasya. Pradyumna Mishra, a resident of Srihata, came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to hear from him about Lord Krishna and his pastimes. So, Pradyumna Mishra came to see Mahaprabhu. The Lord, however, sent him to Srila Ramananda Rai, which was a great blessing. Srila Ramananda Rai was trained in Dasi, dancing girls, in the temple. And when Pradyumna Mishra heard about this, he returned to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, again, this is a verse again about the Ganga. That what is actually devotional service in the great soul, for another person who has no qualification, it will be a very degraded activity. So this is very important to always know. The river Ganga also has bubbles and mud and foam, but that has no effect on the divine nature of the Ganges. So, generally speaking, if a man were training these beautiful girls in these dances that go on in Puri, in some cases, that may be very disturbing for that person. But for Ramananda Rai, he could never see things in a nasty way. That's not possible for him. He is actually doing this in the service of Jagannath and in this very high service. So this is a beautiful story about this. The Lord, however, sent him to Sri Ramananda Rai, and then Pradyumna Mishra returned to Mahaprabhu. The Lord, however, elaborately described the character of Sri Ramananda Rai. Then Pradyumna Mishra went to see Sri Ramananda Rai again to hear about the transcendental truth from him, and came back deeply satisfied. A Brahmin from Bengal composed a drama about the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and went to Jagannath Puri to show it to the associates of the Lord. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's secretary Swarup Damodar Goswami heard the drama, he discerned a tinge of Mayavad philosophy and pointed it out to the author. Although Swarup Damodar condemned the entire drama by reference to secondary meanings of the introductory verse, he nevertheless satisfied the Brahmin. So again, people can approach divine things, but with a Mayavad final conclusion. So the drama was condemned, but Swarup Damodar also gave some good indication of something that the person wrote, and thus gave that person some good nourishment. That Brahmin poet thus became greatly obliged to Swarup Damodar Goswami. He renounced his family connections and he stayed at Jagannath Puri with the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is all fine, fine discernment. And those who are near Matsar, if they are corrected by someone great, then they are very much uplifted by that. They're not disturbed by that. They're because there's this discrimination in spiritual life. There are so many different levels of things. So many levels. And they're not equal. Guru Maharaj said, equality, we hate it. This is a disease. Equality, actually, the result, this so-called fake equality that is pervading everything like a virus right now, it actually brings everyone to the lowest level. That's what happens. So we're not like that. We want to keep understanding what is better, what is purer, what is higher, and really understand it with a mood of love, affection, and surrender, and really asking for help. Vaigunya kita kalita paishunya vrana pidpita dainyarvane nimagnoham chaitanya vaidyamashraya. I am infected by the germs of material activity, and I am suffering from the boils of envy. This is Krishnadas Kaviraj's declaration. Therefore, falling in an ocean of humility, I take shelter of the great physician, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Not like this is my condition, so everybody has to think it's okay. That's ridiculous. A little humility will save us from this nonsense. Jaya Jaya Shachi Shuta Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Jaya Jaya Kripa Maya Nityananda Danya. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Shachi. All glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Indeed, he is the most glorious and merciful. Jaya Dvaita Kripa Sindhu, Jaya Bhakta Gana, Jaya Swarupa Garadhara Rupa Sanatana. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Advaita Prabhu, the ocean of mercy, and to all the devotees such as Swarup Damodar Goswami, Gadadhar Pandit, Sri Rupa Goswami, and Sri Sanatan Goswami. Akadina Prajumna Mishra Parabura Charane Dandavat Kari Kichukare Nivedane. One day Prajumna Mishra came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, offering his respects and inquiring from him with great submission. Shuna Prabhu Munidina Grihasta Adama Kona Bhagye Panyachori Tomara Durlabha Charana. My Lord, he said, kindly hear me. I am a cripple-minded householder, the most fallen of men, but somehow, by my good fortune, I have received the shelter of your lotus feet, which are rarely to be seen. So this is a prayer of Prajumna Mishra. Krishna Kata Shunibare Mora Icha Hoy, Krishna Kata Kahamore Kanya Sadai. I wish to hear topics concerning Lord Krishna constantly. Be merciful unto me and kindly tell me something about Krishna. Prabhu Kahena Krishna Kata Ami Nahi Jani, Shabe Ramananda Jani Tara Mukhe Shuni. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, I do not know about topics concerning Lord Krishna. I think that only Ramananda Rai knows, for I hear these topics from him. Bhagye Tomara Krishna Kata Shunite Hoyamana Ramananda Pasha Jai Karaha Shravana. It is your good fortune that you are inclined to hear topics regarding Krishna. The best course for you would be to go to Ramananda Rai and hear these topics from him. Krishna Kataya Ruchi Tomara Baddha Bhagyavan Jara Krishna Kataya Ruchi Se Bhagyavan. I see that you have acquired a taste for hearing talks regarding Krishna. Therefore, you are extremely fortunate. Not only you, but anyone who has awakened such a taste is considered most fortunate. Dharma svanushtita pungsang vishvakshena katashuya nodpadayet yadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. A person who properly performs his regulative duties according to Varna and Ashram, but does not develop his dormant attachment for Krishna or awaken his taste for hearing and chanting about Krishna, is certainly laboring fruitlessly. So let's read that verse again, and we'll conclude. A person who properly performs his regulative duties according to Varna and Ashram. Are you familiar with what is Varna and Ashram?
No.
So this is it is the socio-religious system of the Veda, of Vedic culture. It is not so prevalent now. We can see something, but basically we're all merged in a big khichdi. But before that, there were very clear classification of natures of humans and what were their duties respectively. So there were the Brahmin class with certain qualities by birth and by the kind of work they were inclined to. And then there were the Kshatriyas, the warriors. Brahmins are the priestly class. And then there's the Vaishyas who are who like business and cultivation, like farming. And then there were the Shudras who just didn't really work inclined anyway particularly, but would help others. So, and then there were the 4 ashrams, which is brahmachari, grihastha. Brahmachari, the single male celibate student. The grihastha, married person. And then the vanaprastha, when the married couple got older, they would leave the home and go to places of pilgrimage. And then there were there's sannyasi. So this is a varna and ashram. And each one of these has their prescribed duties for upliftment.
What about those stories that we hear about kings?
Kings?
Yeah, kings.
They are kshatriyas.
They were kshatriyas?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're all kshatriyas.
Wow. Okay.
So a person who properly performs his regulative duties according to varna and ashram, but does not develop his dormant attachment for Krishna or awaken his taste for hearing and chanting about Krishna, is certainly laboring fruitlessly. So he's doing all these things but is not getting the fruit, which is developing Krishna consciousness. That is the reason for Varnashram Dharma. This is a quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So many things to learn, and everything in a systematic understanding. Harmonious, systematic understanding. There is no such thing as harmony without consciousness of the center. It will be fake harmony. And it's very unstable. Harmony means we are in consonance with the center of all existence. That is automatic harmony. But if we are just trying to make up something that's going to bring about harmony, it will not.
You remind me of what you said yesterday about how Srila Guru Maharaj has defined fear.
Fear? Defined what?
Fear.
Fear.
Is what you said.
Being
in this harmony with the only one and only interest.
Very true. Guru Maharaj said the definition of fear is a lack of harmony, the cause of fear. And there's a very nice video on YouTube called The Cause of Fear. And it's by Srila Guru Maharaj. That little talk is very short and really strong definition. If we are out of harmony with the center, then we don't have anything by which to define anything. It's all just a mental, like an animal. It's I want to do it. We're just like being impelled by the senses, and that is a fearful situation. No way around it. That level of consciousness is fearful. But when one is coming out of that kind of motivation, then the fear goes away. Because Krishna is the supreme controller. He's in everybody's heart. Nothing can happen outside of him, actually. So, what's to fear? He's the best friend of everyone. But we have separate interests. We have some interest which is separate from his will. And there we immediately fear. Fear is existing, and we all can feel it. Very much so.
Yes.
And the more that it is encouraged to follow the dictates of the mind and senses in which we were born. People are thinking that if I'm born a certain way, that is practically sacrosanct. But that's not Vedic culture. Vedic culture is whatever faults you have by your birth, we should try to do something to eradicate those faults and come up in our lives in the course of human existence. But now it's being encouraged that whatever you want to do, this is like practically like holy, virtuous, automatically. Anyway, I don't want to get into that too much, but to see that it's almost unbearable. It's to look down the road at this kind of idea, it's unbearably miserable. It leads to constant panic, and in many cases, an inability to sustain one's life because it becomes so miserable.
This little talk reminded me to that Friday program that we had a couple weeks ago with Zoe, Jayadev, Anna, Sudarshan, you and I.
Yeah.
And Sudarshan...
Can everyone hear you?
Yeah,
They can hear
I have the microphone. And Sudarshan was telling us about this person that would be very anxious about calculating every single variable.
Oh, right.
And after hearing that story of what happened to him, where when he got beat by a man in the street and he had some type of brain damage after, he was still trying to calculate. He was still trying to figure out
why that happened and how can you avoid it again.
Yes.
It's a very heavy thing, actually.
Very
and we are all in a plane of fear. But when we hear, I mean, not we are all, but generally all of us in mundane life, as we are progressing a little bit by hearing, we can begin to see how crazy that is.
Yeah.
It is absolutely crazy to live in the plane of fear. We must come out of that. Yeah.
What happens to me is that this hypocrisy of trying to attract others and trying to get them to do what I want, that is in the same domain of disharmony. And
in the domain of disharmony, is that what you said?
Yes. And by the grace of our gurus, I am starting to see that that's actually terrible. I'm still in disharmony, and the reason why I ask you for my word to express myself is because I was trying to get to this point. That now we understand that the goal is to adjust our consciousness in a way that we want what Krishna wants. And we understand by our gurus that the way we can do that is by doing what our guru wants. Even though we see that our consciousness is not adjusted in such a way. And I believe here is where sincerity comes to play. I'm going to put myself as an example. I can see that is the goal, the perfection of all the yogas, to do what the Lord wants and be in complete harmony all the time. Regardless of that, I don't feel like I want that.
Yeah.
It's like, it may sound insane, but sincerely, I feel like I still need to enjoy this material world. Even though we hear from the bhajans that is like chewing dry wood, I cannot imitate to say that I'm tired of that.
It just takes some time. It takes some time. Just like this week, I understand something I didn't understand last week about spiritual life. Can you say that? I think you can say that. So these are all taking some time, because the addiction to material life is many, many layers that we don't even know about yet. And as we come to that layer, Krishna will arrange the environment in such a way that thing becomes known to us through surrender. That other layer of that thing, of material enjoyment, That's a big topic, and there's so many layers in there. But each layer can be removed by Krishna as we come to it. And we come to it through the environment. Through the environment. And wow, what a fuss the mind puts up. But if we can remember, yes, my Lord, this is good for me, this is good for me, this is good for me. And that little one battle can also go on for a while, because he's going to keep sending that. Like somebody will say, why is this always happening to me? There's a reason. We have to start listening. This is the thing that must go now. We've come to that level. And we have to keep bowing down, keep bowing down. Our battle is in surrender. It's in will I surrender or not? But we must begin at least by bowing down and saying yes. This has come by your grace, and it is good for me, my Lord. So this is all going to take some time. And we can understand, at least theoretically, because we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we are noticing there's this thing called the mind, and it isn't me. In different instances, by surrender, we've noticed that Krishna is showing us, your mind was misperceiving this entirely. So we can start noticing there's this mind that I'm looking through, like glasses that have colors on them, and seeing the world as being a different color than it is. And this will keep happening, and gradually we can become more objective about the mind. And children need to learn this from the beginning of their lives.
That they're not their minds?
They have to learn how to discriminate the mind from the self, gently, but without any discipline, without any instruction. That becomes hopeless. And when we only have the mind, that situation is unbearably hellish. It's unbearably hellish. A person wants to end their life. It's unbearable. So we think that so much indulgence is good we're just being nice to our kids. It's not true. They will become mad. So some instruction, gradually, gently. Yes, you think this, but this is not really true, but you can pretend that for a minute if you want to. Pretend you're a kangaroo, but you're actually not a kangaroo, but you can pretend. Not that I have to say that you are one if you say you are one in the name of I don't know what. But this is going on. So we just can harmonize. And yes, you want to be a kangaroo. Okay, you can pretend to be a kangaroo, but you are a little boy. Okay. And let that go on.
That's different.
A little sanity is very helpful.
Yes. It's very helpful to hear that this will take time. That the way we see the world, that paradigm, and that shift of paradigm will take its time to.
Shift of?
Paradigm. Paradigm?
I'm sorry, I can't see your face, so I'm having a hard time hearing you. That shift of?
Paradigm.
Paradigm. Oh, yeah.
Paradigm.
Okay, yeah.
Paradigm. This shift of paradigm will take time. There is this, I'm going to be brief. There's this example of a shift of paradigm that I read on a book, and this person is explaining the importance of paradigms, how the way we see things determine our behavior and attitude.
Yeah.
But if we try to externally work on the behavior and attitude, it will be just a short-term change. The important thing is the shift of the vision of reality.
Angle of vision.
The angle of vision.
Yeah.
So he gave an example of a short or a fast shift of paradigm. He was in a subway in New York. Everything was in a subway.
In the subway in New York.
In New York. Everything was peaceful. Some people were reading the newspaper. Some other people were lost in their thoughts. Some other people, they were resting with their eyes closed. It was a very peaceful scenario. Until, in a stop, a father... Who's that?
I don't know. Does she want to come in?
I'm gonna see.
Okay, someone just came to the door. But then they went away. Maybe they thought they were at the wrong place. Maybe they were.
Yeah, we saw there was like a listing for a yard sale at this address.
Yeah, the yard sale was
The last weekend?
Sorry.
I'll give them a card.
I'm sorry we missed you guys.
All good, no worries.
Okay, where did you find the listing? ASL? Okay. We'll probably do another
Bacho Begum. I hesitate to start because he's in the middle of explaining this. But yes, there's temporary, shifts that we can try to do externally. And then there are internal shifts. And those internal shifts, I'm going to let you finish, Prabhu, but those internal shifts are brought about by surrender. And only Krishna can do that. Krishna can give that complete shift in our angle of vision. And that is brought about by surrender. That circumstances come to do that. And through surrender, that is not, the circumstance is not an impersonal thing. There's nothing impersonal. Impersonal doesn't exist. That's only mundane misunderstanding. Everything is in consciousness, and the Lord is the supreme consciousness, and He's arranging the circumstances by which He will change our angle of vision, but we must bow down to that. This has to become our way of life. This is called Bhakti Yoga. And then you were saying on the subway, it was until something happened. Yes. On the subway.
So the subway. So this is again an example of how one can change the way he sees things in a very short time. And he was giving this example of the subway in New York. People were like very peaceful in the subway, silent, until this gentleman came in the subway with his children, and his children were like a tornado. Yelling, screaming, grabbing other people's papers, and the gentleman was like very peaceful. He wasn't doing anything about it.
Oh, you mean the father?
The father of the children.
Uh-huh.
Until the author of this book that is sharing this experience decided to ask the father of the children, your children are bothering many people. Do you mind if you do something about it? And then the father said, oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe I should do something about it. We just came back from the hospital, and my wife just died 1 hour ago. And I don't know what to think, and maybe my children don't know how to act either. Immediately, the paradigm of this guy changed. Yeah. The way he felt, the way he thought, his behavior, his feelings, everything changed. So in the same way, to adjust our consciousness from an exploitative paradigm to devotion is going to take Supreme.
And like you're saying, yeah, it's nice That's a nice example. And I think that when we hear these stories, everybody gets tears in their eyes, right? Because of sympathy. And it is really true. I mean, we've got the Vachovegam, the Manasavegam, the Krodavegam. Krodavegam is a big intelligence destroyer. Anger is really... This doesn't allow you to inquire. It doesn't allow you to adjust. And all these things, but and that's true. I mean, our paradigm, and that's a relative thing. What as you know, you're giving a relative example, and then coming to the conclusion. What to speak of adjusting to the supreme will, as you were saying, to the supreme will in all time? Because why? The supreme personality of Godhead is the absolute goodness. Nothing he does is wrong. It's all of the highest degree of perfect sweetness, goodness, like not ordinary goodness. Perfect, Vishuddha Sattva. So we have the opportunity to adjust to that. How? By Guru and Gauranga. To adjust to the highest possible truth, the absolute truth, in all of our dealings, through surrender, through surrender, through surrender. There's no other way. We're not going to figure this out. It's a really strong urge to figure out the world and fix what's wrong. Without connection with the Supreme Lord, it's all wrong. You can go to Janaloka, Satyaloka, Tapaloka, Siddhaloka, all these higher planetary systems in the universe, up to Brahmaloka. There's very peaceful harmony. But if it's not centered on the Lord, it is not right. It is still flawed. And you can come down from there to the lower parts of the universe. Because it's unstable. It's not based on, it's an unstable harmony. It's not based on actual truth, immovable truth. What is really the truth, what is always the truth, what is true for everyone, what is true in every circumstance and in every time. That is the truth I must adjust myself with. That is true. That is real. Otherwise there's a little bit of something else in there and it's not stable. Do you follow? That's why just now we read, even if you follow all your duties perfectly, and this is the Bhagavatam, the conclusion of the Veda. If you follow all your duties that are given in the Vedas perfectly, and you do not come to love of Godhead, you have worked very hard for nothing. A very intelligent and good example.
Good example, right?
Yeah.
Is a book by Stephen Covey. He's a Mormon. He's from Utah.
Yeah. But his conclusion is also not perfect. But it is a good analogy
yes.
for coming to the perfect thing.
Yes.
So we can discriminate one thing from another very, very carefully. If you have the highest perspective, then you know where everything goes. But a lower perspective is not as clear. So in the Kali Yuga, all the isms of the Kali Yuga are very, very flawed.
Isms like
This ism, that ism, this philosophy, that
okay.
Movement, that parade, that thing that we stand for. They're all full of sin.
And they're attractive for the mind. For example,
Because you don't have to think much. People are very lazy in thinking.
Yeah, I agree. For example, for some reason I feel attracted to revolution or any movement that is trying to change things.
Yeah.
And they're willing to pay the price together.
Yeah.
And there are many movements that are revolutionary. And they're very attractive to my mind to be part of that. But after we hear about the true revolution, it's like,
What are you guys doing?
what are you guys doing? Yeah.
And some revolutions, right now, especially in Kali Yuga, they're revolutions to make everyone as degraded and unfortunate as possible. Guru Maharaj said, heaping karma on the head of someone in the name of friendship. And I will also share in that karma. Very misguided.
How about the type of revolution that can benefit the consciousness of an individual to the point where he has his heart more open for higher things? For example,
Well, yeah. If it leads to that.
For example, we all know that in the West right now there's a complete misunderstanding of who is who and what is what. Like these transgender movements or this war between male and female. All of this propaganda.
The list goes on.
The list goes on. There are movements like people that are kind of aware of it and they're helping both men and women to remember what is their role and position, and that union is the goal, not separation.
Lord, yeah.
So in my case, by following a person, a man that was like giving me like insight about these things, I came to the lotus feet of the devotee.
Sukriti. It is due to Sukriti. It is due to some good fortune in your own recognition of a thing. That same advice may not have led someone else that way. So what part, we are, the great Vaishnavas, they are wandering in the world. Their lotus feet are never touching the world. But by their existence, the Sukriti of the world is increasing. The good fortune is increasing. So this is our main attempt to try to connect others to our gurus and become fortunate so that the circumstances in the future will bring them to very good conclusions. Just as by some grace of some Vaishnava in the past, we also were able to come to some conclusions, almost without knowing how. But it is all the influence of the Vaishnavas in our existence. And that influence is not killed with death. That will stay with us like the fragrance of a wonderful fragrant forest is carried in the breeze. So when we go from one body to another, that fragrance will come with us in our consciousness, that influence. Jai Shishi Guru Gaura Chandra Jai Giraju Ki Jai. Well, let's just chant the Upadesamrita. And we will continue on chapter number 7 one day or another. But I really encourage all these questions. I really do. I like them very much, and they're important for all of us.
And I have many more after.
It is a great mistake to think that life, how we are when we're born, is somehow sacrosanct. Some hardship has to come in order to remove certain things which are going to lead us to can lead a person to a not very good life, and can be an interference. But we have to know what we're living for, or else we have no way to judge anything. What is favorable, what is unfavorable. All these things have to be carefully understood for a goal. And the goal is to live for Krishna, just like all the rest of reality lives for Krishna. So let's just chant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we read a comment of Bimal Krishna Prabhu?
Sure.
He said that shift in our consciousness may take lifetimes, but we can't exclude the fact that Krishna is behind everything and he can take away all of our bad qualities in a flash if he so desires. We are existing on mercy and we have to try and remain hopeful. Such a beautiful conversation. Dandavat.
Dandavat, Bimal Prabhu, always adding something lovely. Always depending on the Lord. And really, what we want to do is serve the purpose of the Lord. And if he wishes to make us qualified for that, he can do it. No problem. And he can change that also. But in terms of purification, he can purify us in a minute. But that is an exceptional thing. And Guru Maharaj is saying, generally, mountains have to be crossed, rivers have to be crossed, deserts have to be crossed to remove these layers. But what a journey! I mean, this is the best. Why, everything that the Lord arranges, whether it be gradual or not gradual or whatever, it's all good. It is all good. We just are praying for sincerity. And as you said, there's part that my mind is going, nah. But sometimes when we're praying for sincerity, we have to ask the Lord to give it to me in spite of myself.
Oh my God. I'm afraid to do that prayer.
And tell him that. I'm afraid to pray to you, but you punish this servant and make me qualified. In the Gopinath prayers, now having punished your servant, take me to... And we will look back on all of those hardships and go, why did he bother? Why did he bother? I'm nothing. I'm an insignificant, not only an insignificant jiva, but an insignificant bad jiva. Why did he bother? That's the nature of divine love. It's an ocean. Haribol. Okay, quickly.
Ganga Lila Didi said she also takes much from this discussion.
Jai Ganga Lila Didi. Very nice. And questions, please.
Yeah.
Ask questions in the class. So much comes out actually through questions.
Alright.
Okay. Vacho vegam, manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam, upadara pasta vegam, etan vegam yo visheta dira sarvam apipam pritivim sasisyat. May we become aware of our vegam, not in a depressing way, but like, okay, this is the problem. This is, know thine enemy. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha loyam cha sabir bhaktir binashati. Okay. Utsaha nishchayadarya tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sato vite sabir bhakti prasiddhiti. Kadati pratigratnati guhyam makyati pritchati bhungte bojayate chaiva sadvidam pritilakshanam krishneti asya giritam manasaduyeta dikshasti chet pradati bisha bhajantamisham Shishishaya Vachana Vigyam Ananyamanya Nindati Shunya Hridilip Ipshita Shangalabdya Dishtai Swabhava Janite Vapushascha Doshe Na Prakritatvam Miha Bhakta Janasya Pasyet Ganga Basam Na Kalu Buddha Pena Panke Brahmadravatvam Apagachati Niratarmai. About the Ganga and the divine Vaishnava. Shad Krishna Nama Charitari Sitapya Vidya Pitopatapta Rasanasya Narochikanu Kintvadara Nanadinam Kalu Saiva Jushta Swadvikramad Bhavati Tadgadam Mulahantri. Okay, the candy. Looking for the word for candy. Oh, Sita. The sugar candy of Krishna. Okay, Tanama Rupa Charitari Sukirtinanu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasini Yoja Tishtam Brajeta Anuragi Jaganugami Kalam Nayeda Kilam Itupadesha Sharam. So this is going to be our next verse that we're studying, but we still have a lot to read on the 7th verse, and so we're really looking forward to that. But we're engaging the mind and the tongue in the gradual. Hey, Prabhu, engage the number 8. Engage the tongue and the mind in the gradual process of chanting and remembering Krishna's name, forms, pastimes, and so forth. Reside in Braja. That doesn't necessarily mean going to Vrindavan and residing there, but it means the Braja is that place within which I keep my mind, and spend all your time as a follower of those who have deep attachment to Krishna. This is the essence of all instruction. That will be number 8. Jai Shishi Guru Gaura Chandra. Jai Guru Rashi. Oh, Prabhu, could you give me the drum, please? And also that in Brahma Samhita, after verse number 29, verse 30, in Brahma Samhita, it's also speaking about this as a gradual process. And it is gradual, but we can't, so therefore those two things have to be there, enthusiasm and patience. And we are not going to sacrifice one for the other. They go hand in hand. Patience cannot rule enthusiasm, and enthusiasm cannot destroy patience. Otherwise, we will pick the fruit before it's ripe. We don't want to do that. It will not be sweet. And we will think, oh, I've wasted my time. So we need to understand things very, 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 very enthusiastically and carefully, using our discrimination, vijnana, systematic understanding. We don't want this kanishta understanding, that everything's a big blob, and there's this Krishna thing, and then there's, guru, and we have, it's all very vague. That is not good for us. Everything has to be understood very nicely. One time Srila Prabhupada, another volume of the Srimad Bhagavatam came out, and we happened to be with Srila Prabhupada at that time. And he said, yes, you are all happy and celebrating, but are you reading this? Are you reading it? He said, what am I doing? I am doing this for you to understand things. This is divya gyan. This is not ordinary gyan.
Hare Nama Krishna, Hare Radharaham Sri Madhusudana Giridhari Gopina Madana Mokhana Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Radhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Rupa Sanata Vata Raghunata Shri Jiva Gopala Vata Dasa Raghunata Jai Gosai Kori Charana Vandana Jai Te Vignana Savista Purana Jai Gosai Jaramu Daradasa Numura Panchagra Adya Charana Sevi Vata Sadevasa Jana me mora Abhilasa Jai Gosai Jape Vraje Koilavasa Shri Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Gurira Prakasha Nande Guru Hari Vaja Vrindavana Shri Guru Vaishnava Pare Majai Jamana Shri Guru Vaishnava Para Parma Koriyasa Harinam Sankirtana Koke Narutamagasa Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nagiraju ki jai jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj ki jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Srila Bhakti Rakak Sri Dardev Goswami Maharaj ki jai Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda ki jai Sannyasi Vrinda ki jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai Jai Sagoswami Prabhu ki jai Saparshad Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai Saparshad Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai Shri Tadiya Shakamat ki jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission ki jai Kol Kartal ki jai Harinam Sankirtan ki jai.
Jai.
Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala ki jai.
Jai.
Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Bol.
I just wanted to say that we are not interested in discussing so many political and social things. These are just general things that are helpful to the sanity of a population. But without Krishna consciousness, nothing will work anyway. Not really. The whole Kali Yuga is impossible to solve. It's not solvable. The only good quality in Kali Yuga is Harinam Sankirtan. And we will do what is favorable for that. But it is very favorable to be sane. It is very highly recommended. So we should learn how to think properly, to discern what is illusion and what is not. It's a horrible thing. I mean, there's so many young people coming. And years ago, I used to get so many phone calls from panic attacks. I never even heard of a panic attack when I was a kid. But now they're every 5 minutes. And it's because there's an encouragement society-wide to become very, very much controlled by the mind. And that is causing a tremendous amount of anxiety. There's no regulation, there's no system by which to uplift oneself. By which to live. There's no steady principle by which to live or by which to measure. How are you doing? The measurement is fake, it's false, it's extremely weak, it's unreliable. So this is just a general comment, a general social comment. And we should be aware of these things and not fall into all these isms that are so actually causing a lot of trouble for people. That's just a little thing, but everything has to be seen in relation to the really great gift, perfect gift that is given to us who are so lost. And that's really what we concentrate on, of course. Jai Gurudev, Jai Dandavat.
Right. Kumkum Didi is present, Divya Shakti Didi, Ganga Lila Didi, Vimal Krishna Prabhu.
Dandavat, Dandavat, Dandavat.
And I think also Indumati Didi, Maheshwari Didi too.
Dandavat, Dandavat. Maheshwari. Oh, we know a few lovely Maheshwaris. Haribol.
Thank you for your participation, dear devotees.
Jai, thank you for your association. So blessing for us.